everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I love learning about new brushes, especially trying new brushes in the drugstore price range, and I got a PR package filled with some new stuff from Real Techniques, and they all pretty much pertain to the face makeup steps, and I thought I would try to work as many of them into a look today as I could so we could talk about them, and some of them are really unique looking, kind of different, and I thought we could just see if we like the result that we're getting from them. One of them is a set. We've got little puffs, we've got all kinds of things. So face-wise, right now I've just got my skincare on, and we're gonna go in with our very first step. And there are a couple of brushes that could be foundation brushes here. And I think I'm gonna use one for foundation, and one, maybe I'll use it for a primer today. And I think I could continue to use it either way going forward. This 259 here is called the Glow Round Base Brush, and it says it can be used with liquid and cream formulas. It's a flat top brush, totally blunt cut. It seems extremely dense and soft. The closest thing that I have to this, it's kind of reminding me of a Sigma F80, but bigger surface area. I don't know if you can tell, this is a little bit smaller. It's a similar height, similar softness and density of bristles, but just a larger surface area. So like I said, I could see this definitely being used to buff in foundation, but because we've got two brushes that could do that today, we're gonna use it to just like blend in a glowy primer. So I'm going to pull in my Catrice Soft Glam Filter Fluid. This is in the shade 20 Light Medium. And we'll just see if we like the way this flat top brush moves the product around. But you can always count on Real Techniques to put out some different kinds of brushes. You're going to see some definite different shapes today, and it's going to give us, I think, some very different experiences. I've got this flat top brush. I'm just going to begin swiping this around the face. I could see this as a brush that if you were using it with foundation, it would get the job done very quickly because it takes up such a large surface area as you go across the skin. So like it's going over this primer and just really swiping it right in very efficiently. No complaints about the softness, no complaints about the density. I think that's generally a strength of Real Techniques. They know how to make soft brushes and they don't skimp on the density in the bristles. I will definitely give this a go with foundation going forward, but for now, for the primer step, I can see that this gets the job done quickly. It's a very large surface area, and I like the way it's a total flat top, blunt cut, but you can still feel it like hugging all the contours of your skin. So this next brush, this is a little chunk. I mean, I thought the other one was chunky, but this one definitely, like, this is a thick brush. It's a bubble blending brush, they say. Dense bubble head shape for mistake-proof blending. This, they say, could be used with liquid powder and cream formulas, and it is just like straight down. This is a big brush. The number is 260. And so here we can see that we have a taper down the side. So sometimes that can be helpful if you're using the brush at different angles in different areas of the face. That means that you're going to get sort of a blending action all the way down as opposed to straight off the top. And as a size comparison to what we just used, actually the surface area is just a little bit bigger with this one, but this one I would say has even more density of bristles. Okay, so if I'm buffing with this, I'm not feeling quite as much mobility as I do when I buff this one around. But I would really like to try this with some foundation and see how it goes. I'm going to use it with my Glossier Stretch Foundation today, which I wear in the shade Light 2. I feel like this is a very classic liquid foundation consistency, and I just want to see how that brush works with something that's very, I think, middle of the road in terms of liquid foundation texture. So I'm going to dab some dots around, as we do. And then I'm just going to do some spreading with this brush and see if I do like the way that's moving across the skin. It's just totally hugging the skin. And like the other brush, it's covering a lot of surface area at once. It's almost the vibe I got. Remember when the paddle style brushes were really hot? You know, the brushes that had the handle and then like a big oval surface area of brush hairs? It kind of reminds me of the effect you get with a brush like that, just because you're covering so much ground at once. You can do kind of a dabbing, pressing motion. As you can see, I'm getting really nice even coverage here. This is a medium coverage foundation, and I feel like this brush is doing a good job at maintaining every bit of coverage it's capable of. And see, there's something about this brush with this cut and having that taper down the side, it makes me feel like I could do a little bit more of a dabbing motion with it. Whereas this one, I don't know, I feel like this is more of a buff for me. And this, I can kind of dab in on the side and do some pressing, dabbing into the skin. But I am still definitely going to try that blunt cut brush for foundation as well another time. But I feel like I have a really smooth, even, seamless foundation. It almost makes me feel like coming away from using this, like, did I blend it enough? Because that happens so fast. And I'm one who will sit here and like kind of continue to go over the face, like, oh, I want to remove any excess, I want to make sure it's blended. But it definitely did get blended. It's just, it takes fewer swipes because it's such a chunky brush. But that's cool. I enjoyed using that. Now, as far as our concealer goes, we got a brush in this little set. There's this Pastel Pop set, and I'll bring it on in so you can see the size of what's happening here. They put in a spatula. They also put in a small concealer brush, an expert edge brush, which they say could be foundation, and a soft accent brush for cream highlighter and blush there. And then the spatula, they say, evenly spreads foundation and color correctors into a thin layer for an even skin-like finish. We're gonna get into this set, and I feel like I can maybe use the small concealer brush. Some interesting, unique cuts on these. By the way, I like the handle. That's cute. But this is the one that could be seen as like a foundation-y brush. And see how it's got that sort of chisel tip? Foundation is not the first thing that comes to mind here. I could see this actually as blending out concealer because that wedge, that little chisel wedge, actually seems like it would be really well suited to the under eye. I could also see this blending out a contour perhaps. This brush here is what they said could be like a cream blush or a highlighter. It's got that nice little like flat surface area there. You turn it, you can see that it's somewhat angled, seems really soft. I feel like it's not too dense, so I think that would be good possibly for blending out like a cream highlighter. And then look at this little concealer brush. It's a square cut. It's a total square. Okay, what do we think about that? I'm gonna need to see that in action with some concealer to know. It never has occurred to me that I need a square cut concealer brush. And then we do have this nice little spatula. That could be good to have. And then on the topic of concealer, we have these little guys. These are the Mini Miracle Concealer Trio Puffs. It says for targeted concealing with maximum coverage. So I definitely wanna try that with some concealer too. They're so little. I've almost got more tools than I can work into one look here. Here's one of these little guys. You can definitely fit a fingertip in there and you could blend out some concealer with it. I really want to see this in action first, and then maybe I can do any additional blending with a couple of these others. I'm going to pull out my L'Oreal True Match because I want to see if that little puff can really make the most of a concealer that's sort of like a medium coverage. This is Light C1. Again, it's called the Radiant Serum Concealer. It's got the hyaluronic acid and caffeine. I'm going to go ahead and dab under my eye here. Give myself a little swipe and go around here too. And a little brightening up in there. So the feel on this, oh, what does it feel like? It feels like a really, really soft sponge. It's like a sponge and you can hardly even see that there's a hole in it at all. Like, you know how some sponges are more porous, you can really see the holes. This is just extremely soft. So I'm gonna try just dabbing over this like they say and see if we think it's enough. Ooh. I'm not loving that. This concealer should blend with ease, and I feel like I'm patting over it, and that's not enough. I'm bringing in the little brush. That was kind of odd. I don't know if there's a different phase of my concealer that could be pulled in for. Some of these brushes, guys, I'm not maybe gonna have the best read on just after one use. Like, it's gonna take some more experimentation. I'm gonna use this little guy. Okay, I like this around the nose. Really good fit for the smaller areas, which is what it's designed for. Moving it around a little. It's okay. Like, I don't absolutely demand a brush that's that small, but it does target some areas pretty well. I want to use this chisel thing because I feel like this is going to be a good concealer option, especially up into the under eye. Dabbing, pushing it up into that under eye area, because remember the cuts like that. Takeaway here is I do like this a lot for the blending of concealer. I'm not sure if it would be worth it for me to buy the whole set for that. I haven't used the highlighter brush yet, but this, going straight into a freshly applied concealer, I did not feel like this was capable of blending enough, but perhaps in a pressing patting motion over top, you could feel like, okay, I'm removing a little excess, or I'm getting it extra blended in, or maybe even misting this with a little bit of setting spray, and then later in the day, dabbing over an area that's looking a little bit dry. Maybe that could be a possibility, but going straight into a fresh swipe of concealer, I don't like quite what that's doing. We're living and learning, y'all. We've got more. We've got something for powder here. Okay, Real Techniques has a puff. It's called a Miracle 2-in-1 powder puff, and this does come with a little travel case. Let's bust this out and talk about it. I do think my skin looks nice with that combination of foundation and concealer right now. This is a dual liquid and powder thing. They say this side is for powder, and it's looking like a velour kind of puff, and then this side is the same thing that's happening on the back of here. It's kind of like a soft, spongy sort of texture, and that, they say, is for liquid. And I'm wondering if you can flip, yeah, you can flip that little side around, because I personally see me wanting to use this more in a powder capacity than a liquid, so you can flip the little band. And the case is a solid little orange case, and you open it up and you do have, ooh, a mirror inside. Let's peel the film. Here we go. Whoop. That's cool. That's a cool little feature there if you were gonna just take your puff along and, you know, first off, it's not getting all messy in your makeup bag, but second of all, like the concept of touching up, or just even having this, maybe even preload it with just a bit of powder that you could dab over. I don't know, that could happen. What I would like to do is see this powder side just in with a setting powder that I typically use. So let's use some Maybelline Fit Me and see if we like the effect of this as much as this. Again, it does have a side that they're saying could be used with a liquid product. In all honesty, I just don't see me really wanting to use that a lot to like put on a foundation. They've put out some fantastic brushes that I'm gonna like using for foundation, but I don't think I'm gonna need to really resort to that. But this one, my triangle powder puff, I don't know, it's got a really good shape that I love, and I'm not sure how well this is gonna lay in, but maybe if I put my finger there and kind of roll it around, it'll have some shape. Maybelline Fit Me. Pick up some powder. Again, we're on the pink, kind of like fluffy velour side, and I'm just gonna dab that powder in a semi-thick way, because we are gonna dust away any excess. But the question is, can it just hit the areas that I want to hit? And it is. It's got getting all the way to the inner corner. Can it do the job? Yes. And I don't have the prices right in front of me, but I'm almost certain this is more expensive than my little Amazon triangle powder puff. Feels like a more substantial sponge in the hand because it's got that whole opposite side. But I don't know that like I'd have to have this. It's laying it down the same way my little cheaper one could. And those come in what, like a 6-pack for maybe $4 or $5. This was able to get product where it needed to go, just like the other one. Okay. You did all right, sponge, and you do come with a carrying case, so consider what your priority is there and if you think you need a carrying case. I do kind of like the idea of loading a little powder and then putting it in the case and then possibly using it to dab over, like your own little personal setting sponge. But yeah, we're set. We're set. Next thing, guys, we're still rolling with the complexion steps here. They have a contouring brush. This is called the Snatch and Sculpt Contour Brush. It says dense oval shape to define and lift facial contours. So here, it's a chunky brush as well, and we're seeing that flat top design, but can you tell it's cut more like an oval, whereas our foundation one, or the one that we actually used for primer today, is a full-on round shape. This one has been pinched in more there. I have experimented with this one. This was the first one I actually used, and it's a lot of surface area to try to chisel with. I don't know. I felt like I was trying to only get product on like one edge of the brush so I wouldn't get too much on and feel too out of control. I'm feeling like this is a little large for contouring, but we're gonna try it today. I'm actually gonna try to just get product all over the brush. This is my Milani, their Cheek Kiss. The shade is called Spicy Season. And yet, like that, if I do cover the whole brush with product, it feels like maybe a little too much. If I get it over the side of the brush, like just kind of like dabbing into part, that feels a bit more manageable, but then it's like, why do I need this big of a brush? What I'm tempted to do is get it on half, get the product on half, and then I can swipe it, look how in a really controlled way. Then I start to buff it, and it's like I don't know where stuff's going. It's going over more area than I want. It's like you're kind of picking and choosing the part of a brush that's going to do the job, when I just want it to be a little more foolproof. Like I go in with my Sephora 56 and it's like, okay, brush, this is your job. I'm not assigning the job to part of the brush. I'm expecting the whole brush to just go in and do it. And here, if I have the whole brush do it, it's a little more than I need. Okay, getting it on part, laying that down, working it around. It's not bad. For me, it feels a little unknown and a little unusual to use a fully blunt cut brush for this purpose. You know, in my contour zone, there's no taper on this brush and it's rather large. And immediately I'm not thinking like, oh, this changed my life, this made it such a good experience, but I don't hate it either, but I'm just not immediately in love. Really interested in this one. This is the Power Pigment Blush Brush. It says Dense Precision Point Head for ultimate coverage, and this is a brush intended to be used with liquid and cream blush. Always check, if you're seeing these all laid out in an Ulta or Target or Walmart, check the back and see what the brush is meant to be used for. Okay, Real Techniques will always tell you that and give a really good explanation on the back. With the popularity of liquid and cream blushes, I'm really interested to see if I like this blending method. Look at that. So we are fully tapered basically to a point, not a sharp point, but you can see it's going all the way to the top. I could see how this could potentially be a really good shape and size for this purpose. I want to get something that's going to challenge this a little bit. Oh, look at my cute little capybara cup, by the way. I love this cup so much. My friend Hillary gave me that. It always makes me smile every time I look at it. I pulled out my Rare Beauty blush in the shade Love. I thought, let's give this brush something to really work at because this is a really intense shade. Rare Beauty blushes, I think in general, are intense. They have a high like pigment capability, and I want to see what this can do. So I'm going to put a small dab and I'm going to see if this can diffuse it out and really get it going in there. I'm doing kind of a little swiping motion. It seems kind of like what this brush wants to do. It can do a bit of a buff. I really like the shape and size because it feels kind of big, but yet it's not too big. Okay, that fully blended out what can kind of be a difficult to blend item there. Took one intense dot and gave me a nice rosy cheek. Okay, let's try it over here. About the same amount. I believe Love is one of the matte blushes, not one of the dewy ones from this line. It was the first Rare Beauty blush I ever got. And I do feel like it kind of wants to cling on, like it sort of wants to lay down and just set and stop blending, but this brush is really pushing it. I think I got a little more on this cheek than the other cheek. In fact, I will do a hint more over here to try to even it out. I like this. I like the feel of it dabbing and patting across the skin. I like that it applies enough pressure to get the job done, but my base underneath doesn't seem to be disrupted. I'm into that. And it's a pretty brush too. I love this color. The color of like these other ones have been kind of corally, and then this one's a pink. And then for highlighter, we still have this third one in the set to go in with to do liquid highlight. I'm gonna go with the cream, actually. This is from Lawless. It's the Summer Skin Vacation Glow Multi-Stick. And so it's just got this shimmery, you know, creamy thing going on. And I would like to just be able to dab straight onto it with this brush. And then right in here. Oh, the shape and size is perfection for this area. Yes. And I don't really have a brush that I was specifically using for cream highlighter. Like I would sometimes just pull in my 56 again. You know, I have a couple of different things I could use, but this shape and size is really nice. So again, I can just go into my cream, or if you were using a liquid, dot on your liquid. It's very soft. It's pretty much the perfect surface area. And you don't want this to be like your most dense brush. You want a little bit of movement with it, but enough stiffness to effectively blend. And I think they've hit the sweet spot with that. Only thing is, it's part of a set, and I didn't feel like I needed everything in that set. Okay, we're getting a little dewy, glowy. This is a really pretty highlighter, by the way. Then they have a more bronzy one too. All right, let's talk. This brush set, it came with the 3 brushes and a spatula. I feel this, I mean, they say this could be foundation, but I really could see that as a nice concealer blending option. This little square cut concealer guy, like, yes, it does reach some precise areas. It reaches more areas than this one does, so I guess it's good to have that smaller option. I don't know that there's a total advantage, like, wow, square cut concealer's where it's at. It's just smaller. You know, ultimately when you get in there, it just feels like a smaller cut option, and that's fine, that's good. I'm not sure that it's God's gift to small concealer brushes, but it's there. This, I really, really love. This one that's the, it's the number 100 brush. Very, very nice. For your cream highlighters, you could even use it for cream blush possibly. And then you also get a spatula in that set. Think about your own brush needs, and if you have some needs in the concealer category and cream highlighter category, that might be a worthwhile set to get. My favorite stuff that I used today, I really like this chonky brush for the foundation. I see me using this a lot. I see it working well with a lot of different liquids, also like tinted moisturizers, making the most out of some products that maybe are lighter coverage. I could see that doing very well, and I'm excited to work in this large flat top brush also in the same capacity with the same kinds of things. I like those two, and I like this cream brush for the cream and liquid blushes. I think this is going to be very handy, very user-friendly. You might see this and think, but do I need something that big? But the size of it works to your advantage because it keeps you from really like doing a lot of movement and small pressing in little areas, because you have this nice big surface area that's just dabbing and less likely to mess up what's underneath. So that's where that big size kind of works to your advantage, and I just really like the cut and the shape. You're working down the whole side of the brush. It's tapered all the way down. I like that a lot. Stuff that I don't really see the need for, this big sculpting brush, the one that's cut like an oval, it was like, yeah, it can do the work, but it really feels bigger than it needs to be. And I feel like I'm kind of having to work on parts of the brush, not the whole brush, because it's just too much as a whole. This little guy, I don't know. Maybe some of you all in the comments section like see a really good function for this. Its best point wasn't to just go straight at the concealer. It felt like it couldn't fully blend it. But maybe dabbing over the top, I don't know. I don't have a clear-cut purpose for that yet. And this, I don't think it's any better than my triangle one. But that being said, I'm not really feeling there's a big need for the opposite side. If you think you do have a need for that, if you think you want to do your foundation with that other sponge, be my guest. But I think it's a better value. It's just cheaper to get those triangle ones, and they can do the same work with the powder. As always, just being honest with you guys. Yes, I did receive all this stuff, but I don't feel like it's all a must-have. I think, again, my favorites, the chunky buffer, that is specifically called the 260. I think I'm going to continue to love this 259, the big flat top, and then that one for cream blush. This set, good, but maybe not a total essential for everyone. I think there's just some very specific functions there. And then pretty much thumbs down for me, I guess, this contour and then the sponges. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is just finish my face, and then I'll let you know what I ended up using. Just to wrap this up, I thought I'd show you the finished look. What I used today on the eyes, I pulled in this Huda matte palette. It's the Cool Matte Obsessions. I just felt like I hadn't used this one much, and You can see the color scheme going on there. It's a little bit plummy, a little bit burgundy. That's just the shirt color I chose, so I thought I'd work right in with that. And as a little bit of eyeliner, I used my Laura Geller. This is the Kajal Longwear eyeliner in the shade Dark Brown Coal. It's like a really dark brown with a little shimmer. I put that on the lower lash line, very soft and smudgy, and a little bit on the outer upper lash line. And then my lip color today is Superstay Matte Ink Crayon in Live on the Edge, one of my all-time faves. Think Deep Dusty Rose. And then I top that off with the Glow Reviver lip oil from e.l.f. and this is in the shade, it's the honey one. I can't read what else it says, but it's something honey. And then my mascara today is my Neutrogena Healthy Lengths. Really have been liking this one. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope the info on the brushes was useful, and I'd love to hear your feedback as well. If you've tried them or you've discovered any really good specific purposes for any of those, let me know, and I'll see you guys again very soon. I love you. Bye.